We'll talk more about specifics on that, and I'll make sure that the details are clear, especially the first couple of times that there are assignments. We'll be doing 10 or 12 of those during the semester. It's always important with those, though, that two things happen. One is that you get online by whatever the deadline, it's usually going to be a Tuesday, that before that Tuesday comes, that you've gotten online and that you've posted something. And I'm not looking for big, lengthy posts. In fact, I would prefer you not post a big, long dissertation length kinds of things. It makes it difficult for others to read it. It makes it difficult for others to respond to it if you have 10 points and 12 subpoints with each one. So try to really limit what you say to a couple of paragraphs, perhaps, maybe three. And then what I want to encourage you to do, what I actually expect you to do, is to come back to the website a couple, 3 days later and look at what other students have written in response to what you have written. If you're one of the later students to the party in recording your reflections, I want you to go on and actually respond to other students. What I'm looking for you to do is to always post something of your own and respond to a couple of other students' work every one of those assignments that we have. And again, they won't be every week, but there will be 10 or 12 of them during the 15 weeks of the semester. That's going to be a big part of that grade. Now, there is one other aspect that you get points for, and that's for having a telephone conversation with me. I make myself available to students pretty openly. You can email me, you can phone me, my cell phone, which I'm not putting on the video since this goes up on the web, but it is in the syllabus. My cell phone number is there, and I would encourage you to call me. Might not answer it right away, but I invite you to call when you have a question or a thought. But in the early days of the class, there are 10 of you, I believe 11 maybe altogether. I'd like to have a 20-25 minute conversation with everybody in the first 10 to 15 days. And so please email me right away and say, here are some times I'd be available. Let's see if we can kind of schedule a time by email for you and I to talk. I'll call you on my nickel and we can talk for a few minutes. Make it in the morning, in the daytime, in the afternoon, in the evening. It's up to you. We'll find a time that works for both of us to have a conversation. And that way I can answer specific questions that you have that might not be apropos to the entire group. Now, the other thing, though, I want you to know, and frankly, every semester, a third of the students take me up on this, and two-thirds usually don't. But that is, I'm available to chat with you about what you're doing, about what you're learning, about discoveries you're making, about things that you're finding difficulty with. And I really like for you to give me a call, and we can talk through those things. If you're struggling with a topic for your paper, perhaps, or something like that, don't struggle with that alone. That's why I'm here, and I'm only teaching one class this semester, and so I really do want to be available to you. Okay? Second thing that has to do with classwork is the process recording that I talked about earlier. Very simple structure that you'll find in your syllabus. Again, not looking for great format on this. What I'm really expecting for you to do here is to reflect on these caring conversations that you have with people. They may be in the course of your work. They might just be with your family if you're not working in bereavement work in one place or another right now. Not looking for a verbatim per se, where you try to document an hour's conversation. I said, she said, I said, she said. That becomes very laborious, very difficult to do. It is really beyond the pale of what it is I'm trying to accomplish with this. What I am looking for you, however, to do is to reflect on the major themes that you talk about in the course of a 10 or 20 or 45-minute conversation with somebody. What are the kind of the key ideas and some salient quotes? I said this, she said that, I said this, he said that. Some kind of snippets like that, and then to reflect on it. If I were doing it over, what would I do differently? As I look back on this conversation, what did I do well? What are the things that I think, yeah, I really applied this principle here and that principle there? That's what I'm looking for, not pages and pages and pages, but 3 or 4 or 5 pages maybe that just kind of reflect on where you've been in this conversation. And you'll find in the syllabus pretty full explanation of what I'm looking for on that. But I'm happy to talk with you individually about it or respond to an email if you have a specific question. And then the last part of the coursework, which is also about a third of your grade. Each of these is approximately a third, 30 or 35% of your grade. The last part is a research project. And again, I've provided a whole lot of documentation in the syllabus that I would encourage you to read through and look at. I'm looking here for a practical application of something that you're learning. For example, you may be really interested in grieving children, and you want to do some research about how art is used with grieving children. That's great. I'm delighted that you want to do that. I want you also to make practical application to that. How will you use this information that you've discovered? I don't want this to be just research. I want this to be research and practical application. But again, whatever it is you're thinking about doing, I'm not requiring a proposal. I'm not requiring you to get it approved in advance. However, if you would like to run an idea past me, there are two advantages to that. One is you know that it's going to pass muster with me at the end of the semester when I start reading those things, that yes, I was expecting this and I'm on the same wavelength with you and where you were headed with it. The other, maybe more important advantage to you of you and I talking about, or at least emailing about this project, is that you might pick up some ideas about how to proceed, some pitfalls that I see that I think I would stay out of. And most students tell me at the end of the semester that by running the idea by me, they got a couple of resource ideas, a paper that I had in my library that I sent to them by email or something like that, and they found that really helpful. So a lot of advantages to us talking. Again, because the group is small, we can have a lot of conversations this semester, and I hope that you'll take me up on that. Well, that's a little bit about what's ahead structurally. Let me just kind of overview for you. Again, if you look at the syllabus that you've got, the books I've already talked about that are listed on page 4 in case you need the documentation for that. On page 5 of the syllabus, I've listed some additional reading, my own work, the work of colleagues that I think would be helpful to you. Some of these are textbooks that you've probably read or have already in your library from other coursework that you've done in Marion, or maybe just from your own work in if you're working regularly with the dying and bereaved, you may have come across some of these. At the bottom of page 5, I kind of articulate week by week what it is we're going to be talking about. Again, this week, no reading is required between now and next week, and the readings are listed according to what kinds of things are expected and that sort of thing. I do encourage you to keep up on the reading and even to get ahead of it a little bit. The reading can become a little bit dense at times. It can be a little difficult to wade through, and if there is a response that is due on Tuesday by midnight, I wouldn't encourage you to wait until Tuesday evening to start reading, because it may be very difficult for your process to take all of that in. From here, we're going to talk about listening skills. That's really what we'll be doing over the next couple of weeks, about kind of how bereavement works and how our listening really encourages people to tell their story. You'll pick up from me that I am very much a cognitive behavioral counselor in my orientation. I therefore use a lot of questions, a lot of cognitive restructuring, and some of those kinds of things. And some of that may not even make sense to you now if you don't have a counseling background, but that's okay, because it will before the end of the semester. We'll talk about kind of how bereavement works, how gender may or may not impact that. I'll be depending heavily on the work of Ken Doka and Terry Martin for that. We'll be talking then about the fourth week of the class about bereavement support groups and what makes good groups. Again, there'll be some class presentations. You'll pick up, you'll read or listen to some things on YouTube, or you'll watch a video or something like that. You'll pick some things up out of Marion Online. There'll be papers for you to read, excerpts from my own work, and some of those kinds of things as we go. Then we'll kind of turn our focus away from talking about just groups to talking about individuals and families. How do we do grief counseling? How does that work when grief is not particularly complicated, but people need a little bit of shepherding as they go? From there, we'll talk a little about supporting grieving kids and teens and what some of the necessary things are. The reading is fairly intense at that point because really two of the three books reflect grieving children and teens. So over that 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to be reading most of the Worden book and the Percy book. So a lot of reading at that point. And again, I'd encourage you to get a head start on that before we get there. Then we'll be talking about assessment, evaluating where a client is and where they may need additional support or additional resources and some of those kinds of things. We're going to talk about trauma deaths and how that complicates bereavement. We'll be talking at the very end of the class about really kind of three additional topics: confidentiality, boundaries, and spirituality in bereavement counseling. But very much, I think what you'll find is that as we go, this will be an idea filled course. You'll get lots and lots of ideas about how to help in very practical ways. I'm excited to be working with you this semester. Technology is not exactly my longest tenured thing. I was an undergraduate back when we didn't even use computers in college. We typed college papers on old IBM typewriters and things like that. So still, it's a bit of a learning curve for me. And so I think what you'll find, though, is the technology will become very easy to negotiate as the semester goes on. And I'm happy to help you as well as the good folks at Marion. Will be delighted to help you as well. So we'll have a great semester. Please feel free to email me, give me a call, and we'll see where we go together this semester. Have a great time. Thanks.